Hello, StarCraft fans! This is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another weekly edition of Midrank Madness. This is a game between Torello and JaxKraync on Ulrena. In the top side of the map, we have the red Terran player. It is Torello. And in the bottom side of the map, we have the blue Terran player. It is JaxKraync, representing LOLs. So a TVT for you guys here on the channel of our Midrank Madness. I haven't actually done a TVT in a while, so I figured I'd throw one up. This one was highly reviewed by my screeners. Several of them said this was one of the best of the bunch. So I'm going to go ahead and cast it. We should get some good results here. And let's get the heck right on into it. Looks like JaxKraync is going for the back barracks first here. Meanwhile, Torello is, there we go, a little bit later. Not choosing to wall off, but is still definitely getting the barracks first. Nobody feels quite comfortable enough in Midrank Madness to go for the command center first in the TVT, at least not in this particular match. Again, this is Ulrena. We've seen quite a few games on this map. It is a two-player map, which is kind of weird if you look at it, just because you think it'd be bigger than that, but no, just two-player right here and right here. The only places you can spawn, there's a gold base way the heck down here, so far away. I've seen some good success with players ninjaing this expand and just trying to keep it hidden from their opponent, but for the most part, nobody ever really takes this at all. Good scout here by JaxKraync. I'm very impressed by that one. APM for these players. Holy smokes, Torello is playing at around 300 APM and 180, 190, flirting with 200 as JaxKraync. Both players doing very well for themselves indeed on that count. Factory on the way. Marine coming up. Meanwhile, a Reaper opening from JaxKraync. Reaper is pretty darn good against Marines. Unless they take direct shots here. Are you attacking a barracks with that SCV? Yeah, I guess it did force another SCV off the line, which slows down Torello's economy just a little bit. JaxKraync has the correct idea, but watch out for that Marine, man. That Marine will make you die very fast. And indeed, oh, see, now the better thing to do here for Torello would have been to get the Marine up there and then start shooting, because as soon as you start shooting, the SCV will run on its own accord. And then you have to walk up to it and try to shoot it again. And that actually is what allowed the SCV to escape. So, again, move up to it, then attack it. So when it runs away, you can still get a couple more attacks in before it's out of range. Reaper comes up the ramp, KD8 charge, boom! Knocking those Marines back, doing 10 hit points of damage. Not a huge amount of damage, and you'll see the Reaper is very low on HP as well. 18 out of 60. Combat drugs will heal him up, no problem though. Marine count. And look at the positioning here by Torello. Marine count is 3. They're over here, assuming that JaxKraync would try to pop up here. Oh my goodness. Oh, and yes, amazing play. KD8 charge, knocking those Marines up into the air. I love how their arms flail when they get blown into the sky. Like, oh, what is happening? And then they land and they're fine again. But some damage done to these Marines. Not much else happening there for JaxKraync. Not the most successful Reaper harass we have ever seen, but did actually successfully scout the factory. I think that's what was being built there. Maybe it was the starport. I don't know. I don't know. Banshee on the way. Cloaking field on the way for Torello. I like this. I do like Banshees in TVT, especially at the lower levels. But JaxKraync is ready, man. He's trying to build a missile turret. Where is somebody set? Oh, okay. So I'm like, who's supposed to build this thing? This guy. This SCV is actually tasked with building 2 missile turrets. One here and one here. Excellent indeed. I'm not sure if he saw that starport and recognized what's happening, or if he has just died before to Banshees. Hellion tries to come through. These Marines were not inside their bunker. Wall off. Get the supply depot up. JaxKraync. Oh my gosh. Last second gets it up. Well played. Marine taking shots to the face, but does manage to kill the Hellion. Good stutter step micro there by JaxKraync, actually. That was fairly impressive. Second base here and well established. Meanwhile, the one base, the true Destiny Cloudfist build here for Torello. Going for one base, going for Banshee, and missile turret placement pretty darn good. Is that another one? No, that's a supply depot. Alright, so the Banshee can make some trouble out here, but can't really get anywhere near that mineral line without just straight up dying. And one SCV dies immediately. 3 shots from the Banshee, enough to take it out. She's feeling pretty happy about things. 3D portrait, she's just looking around. I wonder if something different happens when Cloak is up. Let's see. You're going to Cloak? The Marine's going to come chase her down. I think she's going to have to Cloak at some point here, but get that supply depot first. Possibly. There's the Cloak. And yeah, okay, she puts down her visor when she's in Cloak. I'm not sure if that's because she can't see stuff or what, but either way, the Banshee is going to create some problems. Nope, missile turret says, get out. Get out of here. Maybe taking down the bunker. There's nothing in the bunker, and I'm not sure that Torello knows that. But here comes a big Marine tank push with the follow-up. Get inside the bunker. Ah, they do get the Banshee, though, and now they get inside the bunker. Coming up that ramp, a really bad idea, Torello. Don't do it. Why would you stand on this ramp in the range of this bunker? Oh, all the Marines are dead. Now there's a tank, so the tank does win. Right, the tank takes out the bunker, but all the Marines are gone, and tanks by themselves without support, surprisingly bad in most situations. So, Marine count, Viking out, though. That is exactly what you need against this Banshee. There's the scan, and don't get in range. Widowmine does not manage to burrow in time, but the Banshee's dead. Another dead Banshee there. This tank, however, surprisingly doing a lot of damage. I'm not sure that JaxKraync knows what to do. There we go, dropping the Marines inside that minimum range on the siege tank when it's in siege mode. And it's going to be able to take it out here unless the Marines... Oh, and the siege tank changing back into not siege mode so it can actually hit things right next to it, but too late. Too late. It does get exploded, and JaxKraync holds. And wins the Marine fight there as well. Widowmine. Is that an offensive Widowmine heading up? Well, going to sit here by this. Here's Zelnaga Watchtower. 1 kill on this guy already. I'm not sure if this one's going to plant in this little narrow choke. Looks like bottom of the ramp seems to be where it wants to be. Torello, another Banshee. If at first you don't succeed, try again is what is this song here. Torello has killed 2 workers. Widowmine shot. Nicely done. Taking that Banshee to 15 total hit points. And cloaking. Getting shots on off. Medevac healing overhead. Here comes a Liberator. Viking, get in. Oh, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Marines took it out. Marines doing very well for themselves against Banshees at this point. Resources lost tab. Torello has lost 1,600 resources versus only 700 for JaxKraync. Widowmine's in weird positions. I mean, not weird, I guess, but they are in more positions than I would expect, I guess is what I'm saying here. Liberator sets up shop. Good pull. Great pull by Torello. Absolutely 100% perfect respawn time there. Loved it from him. APM for JaxKraync has actually taken a hit. Torello still playing over 200 on average. The spamming is over and the play has begun, and Torello actually manages to put everybody on this refinery. Now, what I'd recommend doing is actually sending them down here, where you're undersaturated on your natural. And the Liberator trying to get a single kill to its name. Yes, she does get a kill. She takes 1 worker out, 2 workers out. 2 total kills there on that kill count. Third base on the way for JaxKraync. JaxKraync is producing tanks and Marines and Marauders, and still has some medevacs in the sky. Not much for them to do. Viking is going to chase away the Liberator. Run, Liberator, run. 4.72 move speed versus 3.85 move speed. Liberators are fast. They're fast. And they know how to run away when the time is right. Torello getting stim, getting 7 Marines at a time. He really wants his Marines, which I cannot argue with. Marines argued. Marines are good in TVT. Marine tank, a pretty darn good combination. Now, usually what we see in TVT from the pros is a flying tank Marine battle. However, the flying tank aspect of that takes a lot of micro. I'm not sure these players are necessarily up to that, but it does kind of seem like JaxKraync is trying to go that way, continuing to produce tanks. Meanwhile, Torello is not interested in doing that whatsoever. He has a couple already, but I think they're defensive, and he's just kind of going straight Marine. Look at that, 7 at a time. I guess when you have reactors on 3 of your barracks, that works out. Again, Stim is still researching here. Marauders on the way. Marauders not that good. As another Banshee going to die. Good stutter step by JaxKraync. Marauder's not that good against Marines because, look, they do extra damage versus armor, but half as much against non-armored enemies. And Marines, as you can see here, are light biological with their little flashlights on their chest and a warning symbol upside down triangle. I think that's a warning anyway. And they all look incredibly identical, but they're not clones. That is not part of the mythology of StarCraft 2. All right, Torello says it is time to go. It is time to move. Can we make this thing happen? Let's listen to the groove. Yeah, I just tried to rhyme there. It worked out a little bit, I think, but I'm not going to be trying that again anytime soon. All right, so here's the pickup, and the flying tank begins from Torello. All right. All right, can you do this thing? APM, again, has been consistently around 200. So you know what? I think he might actually have the ability to pull this thing off. Going to knock down these rocks because, again, they're worried about Widowmine sniping them off in this area, even though they're all gone. I'm not sure that Torello knows that. Knocking this down. JaxKraync does not have anything scouting this. I do recommend scouting these rocks on this map, just because knowing when the rocks are knocked down, knowing when an attack is coming is absolutely vital to your survival. Widowmine does manage to get in here and burrow and gonna get a kill. 1. Exactly 1. Can the tank see that thing? No, the tank can't see it. Can the missile turret scout it? No! Ooh, but the scan and the tank fire actually splashing on top of his own Marines there a little bit. That was a little bit unfortunate, but none of them died. None of them are necessarily worse for the wear. JaxKraync sending out a Marine, and Torello reveals his position by murdering it straight up here. So tanks 4 4 tanks here on the high ground. Gotta be so careful, Torello. Tank splash on everybody. And yeah, Torello says, no, we're not going to go up that ramp. That seems like a good way to die. Are you actually transferring SCVs right now? Well, you were, but now they're all dead. This is a planetary fortress, which is excellent. Tanks will be needed to take this thing out too. Flying tanks from JaxKraync, just repositioning. Not being assertive with it, but repositioning. Tanks fire on everybody. Everybody just taking a couple steps back. Nobody wants to get hit by tank fire. Least of all, the Marines in the hard-working Marine Corps. Viking versus Viking. It looks like JaxKraync has this one. So Torello wisely backs the heck on out of there. The medevac forced to leave too. And can you win? Does win. Does win against the Viking. At some point, you kind of just want to stem down that ramp, attack, bring the tanks up behind you, set them into siege mode, and then just lay waste. Because you have so many more tanks than they do. Actually, you know what? Just unsiege the tanks. And attack move everybody in. I guarantee you'll win that fight right now. JaxKraync, you have a bigger army, just barely 92 to 80 total supply, but at this level, that can definitely matter. It is 28 to 33 workers, more dead workers. Where are SCVs dying? Ah, Liberator. Bam, 15 kills on that Liberator. The Marines finally take it out. Well played. Well played by JaxKraync with the continued Liberator harass. Meanwhile, flying tank harass from Torello. And it's going to go ahead and land here and just indiscriminately kill stuff. Nope, going after SCVs. Sending a small group of Marines down to their death was JaxKraync. Sending a small group of Marines up to their death was Torello. All that's left here is a single tank. JaxKraync, go get it. Oh, but he manages to save it, Torello. Torello saves it and gets the heck on out of there. Liberator is now incorporated into his army. This tank is up to 9 kills. And the Marauder, small Marauder hit squad waddling their way on up. Big attack up here, and whew, didn't go well for JaxKraync, but I think he's okay with that one. And a counterattack from Torello. Moving on down. +1/+1 on his guys. And is there any infantry here at all? No. Do not try to kill that planetary. Don't walk up the ramp either. They get a single tank, but everybody else on the ground is completely dead. The Vikings trying to snipe down the Liberators, and one kill off those Liberators. Not many more than that. And a pickup and a retreat from Torello. Nope, not a retreat, just a reposition. This tank does have a whole ton of kills to its name. 19 at this point. Laying siege to the planetary fortress, but tank on the high ground versus tank on the low ground. High ground tank usually wins that particular battle. Third base now under construction for Torello, trying to make things work. And tanks taking fire while making fire. One tank remaining. Marines do get the medevac. Look at that positioning by Torello. Very bravely comes up the ramp. Takes down the medevac carrying a tank. Just amazing stuff here. Landing the tank, and that tank is very low on HP. One shot, it's dead. And Marine Corps flying into the air and landing on the ground before disappearing into the dust. Alright, so a bit of a breather here for both of these players. Let's take a look at the units tab. It is 19 Marines and 3 medevacs for Torello. That's it. Versus 13 Marines, 10 Marauders, 5 tanks, 3 Vikings, and 3 medevacs for JaxKraync. So JaxKraync looking okay right now, although this drop could actually change things quite a bit. Coming in with the medevacs and landing, oh, some idle SCVs too, just absolutely getting destroyed. Meanwhile, the drop up here for JaxKraync is going for it too. Nothing really to stop this from happening. Marauders, again, against Marines, not the greatest, but some tank support might be able to pull this thing off. Everybody coming on in. Pick up and run, Torello. No! Gonna lose the medevac. Everybody is gone at this point. However, Torello able to pick up and get rid of the drop inside of his base as well. So neither player really able to do a ton of damage to the infrastructure anyway. There's been a lot of dead SCVs though. 21 versus 20 workers killed. Very even as you can get right now. But JaxKraync is up 101 to 55 total supply. Army supply 58 to 29. And is that a 43 to 23 workers difference for JaxKraync? Wow. Looking good on the macro side of things. Spending his money fairly well too. You can see here, not doing too bad on that front. I mean, keeping it under 300, 400 minerals is really, really impressive, especially at this level. More Marines popping on out. Concussive shells on the way for Torello, and a small push for JaxKraync heading out here to the east. I'm not sure what they're doing. Possibly checking for expansions they don't know exist, like this one, for example. No, he knows that exists. He can see it. and holding the Zelnaga Watchtower. Brilliant play indeed. I don't know why these guys aren't flying. Is there a medevac shortage for JaxKraync? I guess he has 3. But they are busy doing other stuff like flying a tank and hovering over Marines and Marauders. So, not going to worry about it. I'd honestly throw up a couple missile turrets here just because you know your enemy's going to come back in with some drops eventually, but that's okay if there's other stuff happening. Scouting Marines, check in to make sure there are no bases that Torello doesn't know about. Almost catches JaxKrayn's army in his scan net, but does not. I don't think he was able to catch a glimpse of them at all. No upgrades on these guys whatsoever. Combat shield and +1 attack are coming up, but not quite there yet. And a lot of Marines in production for JaxKraync, so he's the one making 6 in a row, or 6 at a time right now. And the Marines saying, all right, there's no additional bases, so I'm not getting out macroed here at this point necessarily. JaxKraync could pretty much lay waste that entire base, and I'm not sure. I guess the Marine count's fairly high. They do have +1/+1, which is immensely helpful. And these Marauders are basically useless in a fight against Marines. And there's no medevac support either. So JaxKraync needs to hit hard, hit fast, and get out is what he needs to do. Stimming forward and going for the command center. Can he lift it? Torello! Can he get it up in time? He gets the repair. Clutch repair by Torello. And see, that's the problem there. 90 to kill SCVs, and is going to be able to get a few, but every one of his units will get absolutely massacred. As a result, 26 workers killed by JaxKraync. So again, this is a lesson I learned from day 9. Yes, you want to come in here and get a huge kill, right? You want to kill the orbital command because that slows down the economy of Torello immensely. So use all of your APM and all your attack power on it. But if you don't get it, you essentially did nothing, right? You did nothing at all. It's still here. You wasted some units, but sad story. However, if you go for the workers, you get guaranteed kills. Maybe it's not as big a hit to the economy as killing the orbital command would be, but guaranteed kills are better than nothing whatsoever. So, when in doubt, go for the workers. Yes, if you have an overwhelming advantage and a lot of DPS, take down this as well. But here comes a push from Torello, and again, Planetary Fortress tank, very difficult to break with Marine, just straight up Marine. You really need some good tank support, some good Marauder support that can take a bunch of the damage from the orbital command at the very least. But tanks, good positioning there by Torello, taking, ooh, almost getting the 1, but good pickup there by JaxKraync. Tank versus tank. Oh, lands on a wrong spot there. Stimming forward here, Marines and Marauders, +1 attack, but no +1 armor as Torello has. Pushing forward, taking tank fire and backing out. That kind of seems to be the story of the game so far. Moving right on in, and they do get this. They get the tank, rather. SCV is coming up for the clutch repair. This Planetary Fortress has 18 kills. 18 is not bad, and it's really allowed him to keep this base alive. I worry about JaxKraync if he loses this base. So, bad land there for the tank. Once again, you can see, right? You can see where the tanks have lines of fire. If you land inside that, you will probably die. Vikings sniping down a single medevac. And tank with 0 kills, trying to knock down a Planetary Fortress all by his lonesome. Vikings getting rid of all of the medevacs that they can. They get 1. And I'm not sure what this single file approach is going to do for JaxKraync, but nothing good, I can tell you that much. He's just really indecisive right now. Not sure where to go. Not sure how to attack. Does get rid of 1 of the Vikings, but not exactly what he's going for. Another base over here. Planetary under fire from this tank with 0 kills, but he's put out a lot of damage, man. A lot of damage. The mules now forced to repair. The Marines do not engage. Do not engage, Marines. Ah, the Marines engaged. The tank gets exploded. The Marines are completely gone too. Planetary Fortress with 13 kills to its name, the medevacs. And the Vikings are all gone too. Good hold. These mules need to go back to work immediately, though, because they expire. JaxKraync, put them back. They're done repairing. Go back to work. Nope, not going to happen. Most of them will expire right now. This one can get back. That's fine. That's just a lot of lost minerals for JaxKraync. That's okay. That's okay. 51 to 42 harvesters, really trying to catch up in worker count as Torello, and going up for a 4th base here, as we can see. So, again, army supply for JaxKraync, pretty darn high, 111 to 68. Torello hanging on, though, just pretty much by being aggressive, attacking and expanding, attacking and expanding. He's spending his money super well, too. Very impressive at this level of StarCraft 2. Liberators in production, Marines and Marauders. No further upgrades for these guys. They get +2, they got +2/+2. So that's completed. Meanwhile, JaxKraync at +2/+1, working on +2 infantry armor, but not quite there yet, and getting ship and vehicle plating level 1, too. So already has +1 attack for his tanks. Useful. It also works for his Vikings. I'm not sure that he has any remaining. He has 2. All right, so 55 Marines, 14 Marauders, 9 tanks, and 2 Vikings versus 52 Marines, a Marauder, 3 tanks, and a Liberator. So not much separates these guys except for basically a lot of tanks for JaxKraync, which could be very useful. Stimming forward. Now can they get this one? Ah, they get the force canceled. Exactly correct. Slowing that thing down, getting some worker kills on top of it. Good stutter step, catching another SCV because of that. But going down the ramp, very scary because you can see the line. You can see the line of the tank fire. This SCV, long distance mining, going back into occupied territory, but it's no longer occupied as JaxKraync is backing on out. It's 200 to 125 total supply. Rallying everything to this very central location is JaxKraync, and this base is now better saturated, so that's good. A little oversaturated. I would say he could put more workers on the refineries, but his gas total bank is pretty darn good right now, and he is maxed out. So, I mean, go ahead and get the minerals up to where you want them, and push, man. When you're maxed out, you gotta push. You can't just sit here and wait for your opponent to get up to where you are. JaxKraync, or rather Torello, is throwing down 2 command centers. Where's his other one? Ah, here. So that one is for income. This one's probably just for a planetary fortress to go ahead and try to dissuade some of the attacks by JaxKraync. These guys are very low on health. Just bring a medevac. Any of these little pushes out you do, bring a single medevac. And maybe you can't fit everybody inside, but at least the medevac can heal you after you've stimmed and after you've been in a big battle. This Marine just scouting, man. Don't mind me. I'm... Blah. Didn't even give him a chance to say and explain what's going on. Torello! Torello taking the gold base. I lied. Did I say there was one? Yep, there's one here and one here that I always forget about because it's on an island. All right, Torello gets it, man. Trying to come in and kill this thing, but there are Marines ready and waiting. With medevac support especially, there's no way JaxKraync was winning that battle. Army looking good, but again, in TVT, you can lose an army like this in the blink of an eye. You run into too many tanks, too many command centers, units that are better upgraded than yours, and this can melt, which is why JaxKraync is being so tentative in the particular spot that he's in. Yes, he has a big army. Yes, he's maxed out, but 131 versus 107, and that deficit is shrinking. Torello is catching up, man. He's making tanks. He's making marauders. He is making marines, as I thought. That's going to be a planetary fortress. This one should get started as well, but again, fairly mineral starved, although it's only 150 to get to a planetary, so I guess he'd rather have Vikings, which is fine. Rather have a +1 air or ship weapons, rather, which is great. All right, Marines, Marauders getting scanned. That is the worst feeling. You're trying to do a sneak attack, and your enemy's like, hey, I thought I saw something up there, and they scan you. All right, so he has numbers, but that's a planetary fortress, and he's trying to take that down first instead of the Marine, so he's going to get it. He gets the planetary, and everybody here going to die despite that. JaxKraync with the offensive GG. Ho-ho-ho! However, coming up, Torello getting a nice concave there, and get out, run, back into a corner, nowhere to go. Ouch. Meanwhile, JaxKraync had the same idea that Torello did, trying to land here, not going to happen. Torello says, I was here first, and here I will stay. More Marines, +2/+2 on those guys. +2 vehicle weapons coming up for JaxKraync, as well as vehicle and ship plating level 2 and armor level 3. Does he have attack 3? He does. He has 3 attack here. JaxKraync not quite sure what to do with this thing. He set another command center up. Why? I mean, maybe land it, make it a planetary? That would be funny. Here come the Vikings, though. The Vikings want your orbital command dead, JaxKraync. Run! Run, orbital command! I mean, he's doing his best. Move speed 1.31. Coming in here and with the tank and a couple Marines and actually landing the Vikings. That doesn't usually work out. The tank trying to help get rid of those things and doing a very good job of it. All the Vikings are gone. All the mules not even attacking. They're completely gone there as well. And this base now under assault. Torello now the one who pretty much needs to get out. Run, Torello. Pick up. Don't let your guy die right here because of your impatience. 31 damage versus armored with the non-siege mode here. And guess what? This thing's armored and it's going to die. Torello. Torello, no, don't do... Oh, did it. Did it. Meanwhile, he's too busy over here pushing forward with tanks, with Marines, with +2/+2, +3/+3 on the way. But JaxKraync is caught up. He has +3/+3 now. Liberators setting up defender modes. Excellent, excellent. Getting out of there by most of the units by JaxKraync. By most, I mean, except for the ones that wandered on in. Stimming forward. And he's going to focus the Liberators down first. Gets one. Can't quite get the other ones, though. A big battle here. Nice concave by Torello. Tanks in the back, however, JaxKraync just absolutely ripping through. And again, he does hold off with the siege, losing a lot of stuff, but he does break the back of Torello, trying to get rid of these medevacs. 1, 2, and 3. 2 of them do manage to escape. He's not really landed here yet. He won this battle, but doesn't know it. He was too busy, too preoccupied over here. Bases everywhere for JaxKraync. This sucker's running. This sucker is up and running. This is some pretty darn good macro from JaxKraync today. So again, tell me in the comments what level you think this is. And if you're correct, I will congratulate you in the comments, I guess, is how this is going to work. All right, so again, quick check. It is 67 to 42 total harvesters. Army supply 100 to 41. JaxKraync, I believe in you. I believe you can do this thing. I believe you can kill this base and just mosey on through to the end of time. All that is left here for Torello is 28 Marines and 2 tanks. That's it. That's all you have to worry about, man. You have a lot of better upgraded Marines, more tanks. Torello wants to take this base back. JaxKraync has technically landed here, but he's not really mined from it yet, so it's not his, according to international law. And here we go. Focusing down the tank. Nice pick up and lift off. Reaction time for JaxKraync. Not bad. Oh, I was going to say not bad until he stopped and allowed his medevac to get blown out of the sky. This command center might actually get down into the red here. If these were +3/+3, I think it already would be. But instead, it might survive the trip back home. That is... Oh, it is red. It is red. It is burning. JaxKraync, get it on in here. Worried about this attack up here. Planetary Fortress, though. I love how far it throws those bodies. This one almost fell off the edge. It did not, but that's okay. Resources lost tab fairly even. 24,000 versus 22,000. Torello has lost more, obviously, but 304 units to 301 is fairly even. I mean, almost exactly even, if I could dare say so. Neosteel frame, increasing the bunker cargo space by 2. I mean, I guess. Do you have a lot of bunkers? Let's take a look at the structures tab. The answer is no. He has exactly 0 bunkers, but I suppose any future ones he builds will have extra room for Marines and Marauders. Taking another base here is Torello. He is down 100 supply, and he does not care. He doesn't care. He's going to go ahead and try to expand as best he possibly can. Yes, he only has 37 workers, which is bad. He has lost 39 compared to the 25 that he's killed. Here comes a big battle right on here. Marines versus Marines and Marauders. The upgrades, again, a little bit better for Jack. No, +3/+3 for both. And yes, with the tank support, Torello wins the day temporarily there. JaxKraync is forced to retreat for his life. JaxKraync decides not to hold this base that he fought so hard for and lost so much stuff for, but I guess there are Marines for Torello enough to dissuade him from making that his home. Trying to find a place where there aren't tanks, I think, is JaxKraync. And there's one, because he just killed it. And here he goes. A big push here from Torello, though. Oh, man, taken out. I think that was a barracks. Can these guys get this planetary fortress? Again, +3/+3. Meanwhile, everything coming through here. Refineries getting taken down. Not much gas. Well, actually, a lot of gas left in that one. And nice concave. Planetary fortress dead. All the SCVs are going to die here, too. Is this going to turn into something of a base race? What's happening? JaxKraync, are you going to lose this thing? I don't think so, but that base is in a lot of trouble too. All right, JaxKraync, you're just going to base race this sucker. Overstimming. That is such a problem. Do not stim so that your guys are in the red, because anything that comes along, a stiff breeze will blow them over. These guys take out their second base of this assault. It's just straight Marine medevac, man. That is it right now. I don't know if they can get their second planetary fortress, though, unless they attack in a group. And they're all full on health. But remember what I said about a stiff breeze a couple of seconds ago? I don't think there's anything left for Torello to give a stiff breeze right now. 36 Marines and 2 tanks and 4 medevacs is all that Torello has. He's trying to bring up some units to deal with this thing, and if they can attack fast enough, I think they can win it. It's just the burst damage is so darn high from JaxKraync. Trying to psych himself up is Torello. He's going for another planetary fortress. Meanwhile, everything in his main is getting absolutely ravaged. Tanks coming through here, making sure that nothing is happening. And tanks, bring your tanks over here. Bring them over here. All right, going for it and focusing it down. The SCV repair, though. The SCV repair is clutch. So many Marines are dying. The pickup and the retreat from Torello. Torello getting the heck on out of there. I love the 3D portrait of the tanks. They're just like high-collared and kind of like military cuts. All right, Marine tank trying to take that sucker on out. This is close. And look at that. Torello wins the day. Whoa, JaxKraync tried to come down that ramp, lost a ton of units. It's now 153 to 71 total supply. So, I mean, 39 Marines, 22 Marauders, 8 tanks, and 4 medevacs is a lot for JaxKraync, especially considering the upgrades are good. And focusing down on medevac, big old attack up here. Torello loses everything in this part of the map. This is pretty much all that he has left right here, I think. He has 15 Marines. That looks about right. And the tank's going to set up fire too. And the Marines are not going to participate. They know their lesson. The SCV's getting the repair on. They can out-repair the damage from 2 tanks with no attack upgrades from the Crucio shock cannon. This base in a lot of trouble too, but it is another planetary. So planetary versus planetary, the Marauder count a lot higher though, and this is a lot more units. I don't think you can out-repair this one, and yes, the planetary does end up falling. All the SCVs are dead. And all is dead except for the crying. No workers left right now for Torello. Can he get the planetary fortress? And the answer is no! No, he doesn't get it. Torello is defeated and JaxKraync is victorious. Well played by JaxKraync. Yeah, he kind of had an insurmountable lead for a while, it seemed like. But again, I want to reiterate, even if you have a bigger army than your opponent, if you make a mistake like walking into a tank line or walking into a position where your opponent has the high ground, you can lose your army pretty quick in TVT. So I don't really necessarily blame him for being as patient as he was. I guess patience is a good attribute, but don't blame him for being, again, that's tentative as he was. He kept expanding. He kept upgrading. He had a good composition, some good tank count. I don't know where his tanks were. I guess they mostly sat back here for most of the game. He didn't really use them offensively, but in the end, it didn't matter. He was able to make this thing happen with like 1 or 2 tanks out in the field and just +3/+3 Marines and Marauders and superior macro. He finally did starting mining from this base, and once you've wiped out your opponent's main and they have no workers left, that's pretty much all she wrote. So, well played again by JaxKraync, and the Blue Terran gets the win today. So, that is it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin with yet another weekly edition of Mid-Rank Madness. If you would like to participate in Mid-Rank Madness, go ahead and send me your gold, platinum, and diamond level replay. That is epic and awesome and back and forth like this one to falconpaladin@gmail.com with the subject of Mid-Rank Madness. If it is the one that is selected by my screeners, I will probably cast it, but no promises and no guarantees. And then everybody should be clear on the details and happy. You may also find me on social networks such as Twitter and Facebook, both at /FalconPaladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.
Before us, our honor guides us. Me with you, you with me. We are as one. Justice, our duty is unending. I feel your presence. We are as one. Sense of soul, a soul in search of the answers. May the gods watch over you. Inshallah, adieu. ascension is before us. Our honor guides us. Me with you, you with me. We are as one. I sense a soul, a soul in search of the answers. May the gods watch over you. Kushala Adu. Sense a soul, a soul in search of the answers. May the gods watch over you. Kushala Adu. I sense a soul, a soul in search of